Welcome to this presentation in Studying in Distance Mode. My name's Michael McElraith. I'm going to give you some tips in how to study in distance mode. We're going to look at the challenge of learning in distance mode, and it can be challenging, but how this studying in distance mode can be actually very effective. I'm also going to answer some questions that a lot of our students ask me, and also give you some assistance in how to attempt those dreaded exams. First of all, I'd like to talk to you about how you think people learn. There's various ways that we learn, not necessarily in the classroom, and we actually never stop learning through life. So what are the different ways that people learn? Well, one of the ones that we know or more familiar with is the old learning in the classroom. This type of learning is okay, but in my view it's very restrictive because it totally relies on the teacher and how that teacher can engage their students and how they can motivate them to learn, because motivation is a big factor in effective learning. And in this type of classroom situation, it's more academic, where you have the keeper of the knowledge at the front of the class and passing on his or her knowledge to the pupils. And as I alluded to earlier, it can actually be ineffective if the trainer is not good. Many of us have sat in classrooms where the lesson's been terrible. And to be frank, it's been terrible because the trainer has not actively engaged the students in learning. We also learn by asking questions, and of course in a classroom that's when we stick our hand up to ask questions, and we're motivated to ask those questions. Therefore, motivation leads to learning. In distance mode, you don't have the ability to have the trainer in front of you where you can just raise your hand and ask questions. But the way we support you in this is if you have a question, then you simply email us, or you can phone us, and we can provide you answers for some of the questions when you get stuck. So learning by asking questions is a very effective way to learn. The other way we can learn is by research. Now, research means you find the information out for ourselves. We go to a book or text and we search for the information. Of course, a really good, effective way to research now is the internet. And internet search engines provide us with some very accurate research that we can find. And sometimes we find that students actually advise us that they learn a lot by researching because they come across other things they didn't know about, which then adds to their knowledge base, if you like. The other way we learn a lot by making mistakes. And this can be an effective way of learning, providing the student isn't chastised for making mistakes. Sometimes on a building site, a young apprentice might make a mistake with a door furniture or some other aspect of the job and gets shouted at or abused by the master, if you like, and therefore demotivates the learner very quickly. That's very ineffective. Learning by making mistakes is very common, and it's actually a very effective way to learn. And of course, the old learning by doing is very, very important too, because we can get all the theory we like, but until we apply that theory, we don't learn as much. Now, do you know which most effective way that most people learn? And that is from research and making mistakes, followed by asking questions and by doing. Now, let's discuss how this learning maps with the way that we do your training. So we know now that we learn a lot by asking questions. The way that we do this, that I have alluded to, is by phone or email tutorials. So what you can do is you can email us if you'd like to phone you, and let us know when it's convenient for us to contact you, and your trainer will contact you even if it's after hours. Sometimes it can be done by email. And also remember that all our students have 1 hour free tutorial a week in our offices at Belrose should they require it, and that's free of charge, all inclusive of course. The other way we learn is by research. We talked about that. and that's where we provide you with textbooks where we tell you to read certain parts of the textbooks, or we provide you with research assignments. Now, research assignments we find very effective, and we also find that students really enjoy them because they take responsibility for their learning. They go out there and actually research it and find it very interesting and put it all together in a presentation. So we provide you with some assignments that are research based. Now, how do we learn by making mistakes? The way we map this is when you receive your assessments results back, you'll either be competent or not yet competent. Not yet competent in competency-based training, which is what you're undertaking, is when you are not quite to the standard that we're looking for, or you've missed something, or you've not included something. So you've made mistakes. So what your trainer does is they provide you with written feedback. Now, this written feedback is very important because we tell you where you did really well, where you could improve, and then we may get you to do a couple of things. We may ask you to resubmit, or we may ask you to just provide us with comments. Either way, at the end of the day, the focus is on you learning. And you learn by making mistakes through resubmission. So don't get upset if you've put a lot of work into an assessment and then you're asked for it to be resubmitted, or parts of it being resubmitted, because you'll find that you'll learn a lot this way. Now, learning by doing is a bit more challenging in distance mode, and how we facilitate that is we try and get you to relate your assessments to the workplace wherever possible. Now, this is really important if you can do this. Some students don't have access to a workplace where they can relate their assessments, and that's okay. We provide them with hypothetical ones. But if you do have a situation where you can relate your assessments to your workplace, then please do. Make sure you talk to your trainer though first to ensure that it's an appropriate for you, that it matches with the subject that you're undertaking. But relating your assessments to your workplace is a really good, effective way of learning.